What is up, SVSers, and welcome to the 85th SVS Audiophile Happy Hour, and the first one we've done in, I think, 2 or 3 months here. Super excited to be back. And,
that's as old as I feel, Nick.
Seriously, I don't know what the 81st anniversary is.
Yes.
Yeah, and we will talk about that a little bit, Gary. But thank you for everybody who's been leaving comments. I can see we have a very lively crowd. We also have a phenomenal guest who we were just talking with off screen, so we're very excited to discuss things with him. But for anyone who's a first timer with the SVS Audiophile Happy Hour, I am Nick Brown, the VP of Marketing, and we'll go around and say hello. Next to me is Larry Magoo, our Director of Training. Larry, how are you doing?
I am great, and like we were talking about, it's been a long time since we've done one of these. It wasn't at a live event, so I had to clean up my office a bit because we just
I can tell.
That's clean.
You can see my box of cables right here. So yeah.
All the dirt's out of sight. We're okay with that. And to my lower right, we have our Director of Technology and Customer Service, Ed Mullen. Ed, how are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing great. Thank you.
And of course, we have our fearless leader, President Gary Yocum, right below me. How are we doing, Gary?
You know, I couldn't be more stoked about this happy hour. And you know, Nick, if you recall, you know, we as Larry points out, we did a bunch of dealer events and a couple of trade shows since our last happy hour. And what I found, or our last, I guess, what do you call this? Virtual happy hour as opposed to from an in-person event. And people have been coming up to me and saying, I missed the normal happy hour. You got to do this again. And I committed to anyone who said that we were going to do a better job and have more of these real virtual happy hours in 2025.
Absolutely. And we do have.
Can I say one more thing?
You absolutely can.
I really do want to send our thoughts, prayers, whatever, our warmest positive energy to our friends in Southern California who are dealing with the wildfires and loss of property, loss of life. Our thoughts are with you.
Absolutely. There's a press person that we work with very closely whose house was spared, but the fire started about 1,000 yards from where he was, Jerry from Future Audiophile, but he made it out. And I know there's a lot of people suffering over there. So I echo your thoughts there, Gary, and hope people who are tuning in from California are hopefully almost out of the way of those fires now. But you know, we're glad to be here. We do have I know you're all tuning in to see our lovely faces, but we have some giveaways too. And Larry, did you memorize what the giveaways are for this evening?
Well, I don't know if I memorized, but I have them here in front of my face, so I can kind of go from that. But we've got 3 tonight. The first one being a pair of our Prime Elevation Height Effects object-based speakers, followed up by a PB1000 Pro subwoofer, and then an SB 2000 Pro subwoofer to close out the night. So some big giveaways for you guys.
And all you have to do to be eligible to win is leave a comment. 1 comment, 1 entry. If you leave 100 comments, you don't get 100 entries, but we're welcoming one entry. But you're welcome to have conversations and share multiple thoughts throughout the evening. We will announce the winners live on the air. And then our colleague Vince will reach out to you, get your shipping information. We'll get that sent out within the next few days. So get those comments ready. And we'll also be taking questions if we have time for our lightning round later. I know we have a few about the 17 Ultra Revolution series that have already been saved, but we'll be happy to take some questions here later in the evening. But we have to stick with tradition, and it has been a while. And I'm sure all of us have been tuning into some different things recently. So I'm going to start with you, Ed. Have you got any recommendations for music, movies, other content for the good community here?
Well, we watched both seasons of The Diplomat on Netflix, and it's just fantastic.
Ed, you took mine. Mine.
Did I?
I don't have much either.
It was so good.
That is good.
I won't even. And we are currently in the middle of Landman, which on Paramount Plus, Billy Bob Thornton, it's like he was made for this part. The chemistry between the actors and his ability to just riff his lines is very genuine. So I'm really enjoying Landman. The only downer really was Arcane season 2. If anyone is into that genre, it's just turned into a very bizarre show, and I've lost interest in it. And season 1 was really good. So that's my field report for where I'm at.
And Larry, what recommendations do you have?
Man, well, it's been a while. So I didn't get to watch a ton. We went to Disney 2 weeks ago for a vacation, and last week we were at CES. But I saw a bunch of people tweeting and Xing whatever about Lois and Clark whenever it ended, and I went back and I downloaded all 3 seasons that were available on HBO, binged all of those during some of our flights and stuff, and finished season 4 last week, and thought it was fantastic. Considering I've never watched a CW show. Saw Gladiator 2 in theaters, and it had a really interesting night seeing Interstellar in IMAX for the 10th anniversary release a few weeks ago when I was in Ohio, and had the power go out right when there was like 30 minutes to go, so we had to evacuate, and I didn't get to finish seeing it, but I own it and I've seen it a bunch. And then The Ones Who Live finally hit Netflix, so the kind of spin-off of Rick and Michonne for The Walking Dead, and I started that and got 3 episodes in, so I'm going to try to finish that over the next day or so.
Well, I will choose myself to go next and let you take the anchor there, Gary. I also have
all my stuff, so I got nothing.
I know. I'm going to try to take whatever you have left, but you had a surprise for Larry, so you can have that one in reserve for your recommendation. I said
Lois and Clark. I meant Superman and Lois. Lois, no bad.
All good. I did see Landman, my wife and I watched Landman, so I'll second that when I see comments advocating for that as well. I totally agree with you, Ed. Billy Bob Thornton is just an amazing actor, and I thought the female lead characters in that too are just they're amazing at what they're doing, and it's just a lot of laughs to go with some of the drama.
Oh yeah, Allie Carter. I mean, come on, who plays a better bimbo than that? I mean, she's amazing.
She's great in that role. Also, Lioness, that is a good one to watch with your significant other. It's got a good amount of violence, but also some good intrigue and thrill to it. Sort of almost a spy, sort of behind the scenes military drama. Recommend Lioness. Skeleton Crew, I think, is the best family Star Wars show series that has been released. My 8-year-old absolutely loved it. He was crying when I told him it was the last episode and there wasn't going to be any more. So I hope they bring Skeleton Crew back, because literally he was in tears when he knew it was over. And then Secret Level, we'll talk about this with our guest because he had a hand in making it as amazing as it was. So I'm not even going to go too far into it because I want to save the conversation. But if you have not heard of or seen Secret Level on Amazon Prime, you must check it out, but we'll get more into that later. And Gary, I'm sure you've got some concerts coming up or things to talk about, but Night Agents coming up soon. I think it's going to be released, if not already. So I'll segue to you, Gary, with Night Agent.
Well, I'm definitely excited for Night Agent. I really enjoyed season 1. It's one of those kind of shows where even though it's an action, I'm not that much of an action, with mindless, but they made me care about the characters, and the action was thrilling. So it's a really good show. I also watched season 1 of The Diplomat. My surprise for Larry was I actually watched Godzilla -1 last night. Only the first half of it. I really could not care less what was happening to the characters, but it is such a good demo, almost constant demo. And Larry finally advocated a streaming movie that sounded good, and I agree with him. It sounded really, really good, and gave my SB17 Ultra Revolution a workout. So, but what I can give folks is some new music that I really got into since we had our last show. So I'm going to just quickly go down the list of music that I really think is great that came out recently. Number 1, Jack White, No Name. It's basically the White Stripes kind of form, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's raw. It's really well done. So I recommend that one. Post Malone's country album, which probably a lot of people weren't expecting, is outstanding. It's called F1 Trillion. I really enjoyed it. Miranda Lambert, my girl, I love her. Postcards from Texas, totally loved. And then the latest one from The Smile, which is the sort of Radiohead spinoff, which is called Cutouts, also outstanding. But my best new music is actually someone who our guest is familiar with, Kendrick Lamar's latest album, GNX. If you haven't gotten into Kendrick, this is a very good entry point, although I still will recommend, if you don't know him, To Pimp a Butterfly is insanely good. Okay, so that's my update.
Well, we loaded up
Caterpillar.
Nick,
Yes.
I got one more.
Okay. Bring us home, Ed.
After 6 or 7 years of depressing waiting, Daredevil is finally back.
Yes.
Through it with Marvel Television through Disney, and I just couldn't be more stoked. I thought the original Netflix Marvel series were all fantastic, and I watched the trailer yesterday and it looks great. So I'm just really stoked. And the Punisher made at least a cameo appearance in there. So anybody who's seen that is stoked for it. Catch the trailer.
Yeah, there's some energy in it.
Oh, I'm seeing some Go Commanders on here. People from the DC area.
Would you put some plants out in the crowd today?
I think Gary's making that up because I didn't see
Go
that.
Commanders. Yeah. I'm thrilled that they won a playoff game.
Well, we know Ed's in Bills country, so
go Bills.
He's got a big game this week too. But we'll stay away from the sports for now. We got a lot to cover this evening, and I did want to take a minute. Last week, SVS was at the largest technology trade show in the world, CES in Las Vegas. We had such an amazing experience there. And Gary, I'm just going to kick it to you. I wanted to see if you had any thoughts about that. First, I want to thank anyone who's in our community who actually came by and visit. We had a lot of fun demonstrating. We're one of the few high performance audio brands that still goes to this show. And I think it was just completely validated in every possible way, from the traffic in the booth to the reaction to our demos, to the press that we got there. It was just an amazing experience. So thank you to anyone who did manage to come by. But Gary, I know you're active with the CTA, the group that puts on CES. So just wanted to give you a quick venue to share any thoughts you had.
Well, we did talk about it today on our team call, and I was there, Nick, Larry, Ken, and Dan, and we all decided it was one of the high points of the last several months for us. And the backstory is CES is a really big investment, and we had been hearing that you're supposed to be presenting your brand to merchants who are going to buy it for their retail stores, and not as many merchants were going this year. And so we were sort of like, oh my God, we're spending all this money on CES. And is this even going to be worth it? And it's look, I don't complain about hard work, but it's pretty intense. Anyone who was with us knows this. I mean, 7 days on the road, you're working morning, noon, and night. It's very intense. But I got to say, it was a phenomenal experience. And there weren't that many audio brands there. But I'm telling you, it's the largest trade show in the world, almost 140,000 people. They haven't announced the official attendance, but it's going to be around that. And of that 140,000, probably 135,000 are not coming there for audio. But boy, we had so many people coming, seeking us out and finding our booth to get a demo from SVS, and it made me very, very proud. So a phenomenal experience, and maybe a statement about how far our brand has come in not that long of a time. So very proud. It was really great work by everybody there. Larry was doing yeoman's work, doing demos for 4 days in a row, never left the demo cabin because it was full the whole time. So really cool.
It was a blast. We have a few new reference demos now too. So we mentioned Godzilla -1. Phenomenal film. Just realize it's supposed to kind of take place in 1945 and keep that Toho vibe. But the opening scene of that is unfreaking real. I don't think we've ever heard anything like that in one of our demo cabins. A Quiet Place Day 1, Chapter 2.
So are you saying there's a Blu-ray out of this Godzilla movie?
Yes. Yeah, there's a 4K, and I saw it was backup available again.
I did not know that.
I believe it is going to be considered my new reference demo.
It's great sounding. I mean, even as a streaming experience, It was really good.
And if you finish the movie, it's a pretty great film too. I know Ed and I talked about it a while back. It was my favorite film of 2023 when it came out.
It's really well done, but I really had a hard time caring about the characters. I'll try.
Yeah.
My favorite character is the monster, and that's
give it a little more. What else did we demo we had fun with, Nick? There was a few new ones. But
we got our 2-channel setup too, which really sounded amazing too. So I think the combination of being able to go from a full-on Dolby Atmos 5.2.2 home theater to a 2-channel that is equally as convincing and immersive. I think, again, just opened up a lot of people to what's possible, which is really what we're all about at a show like this. Because like Gary was saying, not everyone's there to hear about, new audio technology. It's AI, it's, wearables and car technology. And I think we really helped put SVS on the map and audio in general. So it was a lot of fun. So I want to do a quick little segment before we got to our first giveaway and our first and our special guest. And this is, we always say it's not going to be an infomercial, but our designer put this little graphic together. Gary, you're not looking at the screen. I want to get your reaction to this. But
this is bad. You're outed me. I just bought Godzilla -1.
Oh, look at you. I mean, God, that can't wait. It might have sold out.
Outed me.
Here. But part of the fun of being at CES is being able to show off our technology and our speakers. And I mean, we launched new flagship speakers last year. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, or we're not breaking news here. But we took home a lot of end-of-year awards, and we're just really proud of that. And again, this isn't an infomercial, but it was great to have that.
I was proud of it. I mean, the press, some of these, I won't, well, we could name names. Some of these are really, really difficult and not necessarily welcoming of new blood into their community of audiophile or whatever. And it's pretty unprecedented, the love we've gotten. And I would point out, which I did show a lot of people, you see the ISO award there, top left or upper middle left, and then bottom right. That's 60 magazines all over the world voting. What was amazing about it was, well, it's amazing to win one. We won two. The same speaker series won Best Home Theater Speaker and Best, what they call, I think, Premier or Premium Speaker, premium, which is their meaning of audiophile 2-channel. So this has never happened before, where the same product won the home theater and the audiophile reference 2-channel speaker. Obviously, it's SVS. It's beating speakers 2, 3, 4 times the price and more. Made us feel very, very proud. And other rave reviews, were their recommended component in stereophile. They got Absolute Sound, which is a very difficult one to get. Editor's Choice. This is that's a magazine that didn't really. I mean, I don't want to be too much inside baseball. They barely knew who we were 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're giving us Editor's Choice for speakers. It's gratifying to say the least.
Yeah, and it you'll see too that it's equal between the hi-fi audiophile press and the home theater press, which is, I know, something we espouse quite a bit, is you shouldn't have to choose between speakers that are great for high-end 2-channel, but then they don't have the dynamics, the the low frequency extension for home theater, and to have validation from both sides was great. One more show and tell item.
I like that slide, Nick. We got to do more with that slide.
Well, you could thank Jason for that one. I did have one more to show here. I know you had mentioned Absolute Sound and their subscribership. It doesn't cover millions and millions of people, but if
they're very influential.
If you happen to pick up the most recent issue and flip to the back page, you might see. Oh, it's getting cut off there. Here we go. There, look at that back page of Absolute Sound.
I didn't even see this.
Oh, Gary, how
I had the issue and I didn't even see it. I read the review.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
So if you find it on newsstands, pick it up. We want this to be the best-selling issue of all time, and then we can go take a victory lap at the Absolute Sound.
Well, now you're making me wish I was better looking. Maybe we should use your picture next time, Nick.
I mean, it was just great because they came to us and, again, same thing. They're like, you're bringing a very unique industry to the space, and they wanted to know exactly, how we're doing it. And, these live streams are one part of it, but it's great to have that recognition from some of the 2-channel press that really didn't pay much mind to SVS, in the past. And so clearly it was, just a great little win there to have Gary's face on the back page of Absolute Sound.
Gary, can you hold that up next to you so we can have a really meta moment?
I got the actual issue here too.
Look at that.
I got it too. I didn't even see this. It's so funny. I read the review with care, but I didn't know that this was even in there.
I didn't know.
All good. No worries, no judgment. But yeah, so pick up that issue if you get a chance. One more thing. So that's our show and tell for the evening. We'll try to do that for future broadcasts too if we have fun things to share. And the last thing I want to announce, we may have a live stream before then, but we'll be at the Florida Audio Expo, which is going to be just outside Tampa. February 21st through the 23rd. Larry and I will be there with Gary if he's not busy taking pictures of himself in magazines. And
my family, they don't take me seriously.
They don't watch the broadcast. They could be heckling you and throwing grapefruits from the stands, in the comments. But
I think they avoid the broadcast. How embarrassing for me!
If you want to take a trip to Florida in late February, which there's worse places you could be.
I will be there, by the way.
And check Larry, Gary, and I out at the Florida Audio Expo on weekend of February 21st. All right, we're going to bring our special guest out, but first we need to do a giveaway. And our giveaway for the first giveaway of the evening is a pair of our Prime Elevation speakers. And the winner of that is one Mr. David Rathje, Rathje. David Rathje.
Yay, David.
Congratulations. Speakers coming your way. All right. Well, we gave a little bit of a teaser earlier, and we're super excited to welcome back for the second time a guest to the SVS Audiophile Happy Hour. His name is Matt Yocum. He's a sound engineer who's worked on an award-winning sound engineer who's worked on music videos, major motion pictures, podcasts, you name it. He's done audio for it. Matt, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, thanks. And it's all good, but this is my third time back, so I'm actually I'm super happy that y'all keep having me back. So
I think you're an awesome guest. Yeah, our first he had us enthralled in the pre-conversation. I'm like, stop talking. We need to do this for the SVS community.
Yeah, I feel like we need to get you a watch or something. You're in like the 3 Timers Club, like SNL or something. So maybe a robe.
Yeah, I'll wear like an SBS bomber jacket or something if you do it, or like whatever. Or t-shirt, whatever. Hoodie.
Well, we'll start with recommendations, and I do have questions on some of the stuff you've worked on. But what have you been listening to, watching recently that you want to recommend to the community?
Sure. So I love sci-fi stuff. So like I watch. I just finished watching season 2 of Silo on Apple TV. I really love season 1. Season 2 is a bit slower, but I also really enjoyed it. I'm really now I'm just waiting for season 3 because season 3 is going to get crazy. It feels like all of season 2 is just one slow build up to whatever season 3 is going to be. So I recommend that show if you enjoy that sort of thing. It's kind of a sci-fi dystopian thing. Severance is probably one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and season 2 is coming out, I think, starting tomorrow, actually. So I'm in the process of rewatching season 1 because I love it so much and I want it fresh in my brain before season 2.
Yeah, they did some kind of pop-up in like Grand Central Station or something. So
I saw that this morning.
Viral, guerrilla marketing from what I've seen.
Yeah,
awesome. They had all the actors there too. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I really love Severance. I highly recommend checking that show out. You got to give it. Everybody says they stop watching it after like 1 or 2 episodes. You have to. It's one of those. It is a slow burn in the beginning, but you just gotta stick with it because by the last episode, you're like screaming at your TV.
Yeah, it's let the hook sink in.
You just got to give it time. It's amazing. And then we've watched some really good movies this year. I personally loved Nosferatu. I'm not one to run to the theaters for a horror movie, but I really enjoy this director's work, and Nosferatu is amazing. We watched The Substance, which is a crazy movie, but also very well done. Had to watch Wicked. That was the first Broadway I ever saw, so I loved it. They really did it justice. I thought it was amazing. Sounded great too. The music sounds phenomenal in Wicked, I think. And then
everyone's talking about the sound of Wicked. I heard about it several times at CES.
Yeah,
sounds excellent.
I tried to go see it, and the theater had such bad sound. It was only coming out of the front left that I got up and walked out. It was like nobody in the theater, none of the employees understood what I was trying to explain to them was occurring, and it was one of their largest auditoriums in AMC's headquarters town. So it was calming down.
Larry, I think I heard you say that you got to see the 10-year IMAX Interstellar. I was so upset. I got to I logged on to try to get tickets and everything was sold out. I mean, they could have run that movie for 3 weeks and still sold out.
I looked out, just happened to be in town and had nothing better to do, and looked up. There was one seat in IMAX, and went, and it was a wild.
Were you
night.
in the front row, like watching?
No, I was prime, like literally one seat off center.
Wow.
3/4 back. I don't know how I lucked out to that, but it was
jealous.
a wild night. I told Nick about it. Fire alarms and all kinds of stuff.
Well, Matt, I got a lot to
wife's
ask you
all-time
about
favorites.
here. You've got a lot of credits that I think people will be interested in, and the first one that caught my attention was that you were involved with one of the greatest diss tracks from a music standpoint in history, and that would be Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us." Arguably, but I think arguably that would win in most arguments. Just tell me about your involvement with that, how it came to fruition, and just what that spectacle was like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Kendrick won by a long shot with Not Like Us. I mean, that really sealed the deal. I don't think anybody ever had any doubts in their mind to begin with, but Not Like Us really, I mean, like blew up and cemented it. So I was very fortunate and very lucky to get the call to work on it, and was very excited to find out what it was once I was asked. So I've worked a lot with Kendrick's business partner and sort of like right-hand man, creative director. His name is Dave Free. He and Kendrick founded a company called PG Lang, which does all kinds of different like artistic endeavors and like music videos and campaigns and apparel and like all this stuff. It's like their artistic outlet, outside of just making music. And so I've worked with them previously in the past. I've worked with like Dave Free. Like he did this short film for Chanel for their haute couture show in Paris, which was very cool to be a part of. And so like he came over to my place and like we worked on it together and we clicked and got along really well. So I've done a bunch of work for them. And so I just got hit up and he was like, "Hey, do you want to work on this music video?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I was like sort of wondering like what it might be, and it turned out to be Not Like Us, which was already like a massive hit. So I was very excited, and it's funny because I did I did this like big pass where I did a bunch of design and sort of added all this zhuzh to things and just kind of like tried to spiff it up and make it cool and like just did all these effects for the different parts of it. And so I sent it along for review, and Dave called me. He was like, "Ah, man, like I wish we could have talked about this before you did a pass on it." He's like, "I actually just want it to be extremely minimal and like just do cleanup." So I ended up just muting most of what I had done, and then did like a cleanup of the production track. But I think it actually, like that's totally fine as far as I'm concerned. Like that's actually a fairly common thing in our business, is just to not be super precious about what you make, because you could spend a bunch of time doing something, and if the director says that's not what I'm looking for, like you mute it and you try something else. So
somewhere out there, there's a Matt Yokum cut though that has all these over the top sort of surround effects and other musical elements there that don't exist with the actual video. So that's got to be exciting.
And the world will never hear it, and that's okay. Yeah. Because I think like his vision is really part of what makes it work. And I sort of learned it I should have known, having done the Chanel piece with him, because he definitely has a mentality of like less is more. And my sort of natural approach to things tends to be a little bit more maximalist.
Yeah.
And a little bit more heavy-handed, because I just enjoy the kind of punchy, designy stuff. But he wanted it real subtle, and that's a cool avenue to explore as well. I mean, there's a lot of merit in the less is more philosophy. So that's the direction we went with it.
I mean, your strength must be that you are. I mean, I'm just surmising here, just because you told another story where it was almost the opposite, where you were very over the top and they loved it, but I guess and which I hope we'll get to in this, but I think your strength must be that you are able to make someone's artistic vision a reality without prejudice, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, there's sort of there's like two schools of thought here that I've heard from different. I've learned from different people, but like like one of the very first lessons that I learned when I was starting out in this industry was from the first supervisor who I worked for in a big union feature, which what happened was Cloverfield Paradox, if anybody's seen it. The supervisor in the movie's name was Robbie Stambler, and there was like a particular scene in that movie that we had worked on where the direction wasn't super, like nobody really knew what the scene needed, and it was like it just needed to be tense and scary and a mystery, and that was kind of all we had to go on. So we tried like 10 versions of that scene, and it just kind of kept getting rejected, and we had to keep going back to the drawing board and starting over. And that can be frustrating sometimes, but I remember I like walked into his room at one point to get feedback, and he told us that whatever latest version we had done had been sort of like X'd out as an option. And he goes, you know what? It's not about me. Like, it's about the movie, and it's about like whatever the art is. Like my job as a sound designer is to service the vision of a director, and that doesn't mean it can't be a collaborative process. Like my favorite projects are when I get to work with a director who's very collaborative and who like wants to explore ideas, because that's the second line of thought, is that although I'm always in service to the vision of the director, and ultimately it's about telling the story and not about like what I think is cool. On the other hand, like a director will come to me because I have opinions and because I'm an expert in my craft. And so, it's my job to come up with ideas and storytelling things that maybe hadn't occurred to them or they didn't realize was possible. And sometimes those ideas work and they go, wow, that's awesome. Like, let's go that direction with it. And other times they'll say like, that's a really cool idea, but I think it'll be better because of X, Y, Z. And so then we go a different direction. It's all good. So
to that point,
I'm kind of a consultant in the process.
I think what Gary was alluding to, you had, I guess this is sort of like the polar opposite of your experience with Kendrick's Not Like Us, was Eminem's Houdini. You also did work on that, which was, just tell us how that was sort of a different experience from what you did with Kendrick.
Yeah, that was the polar opposite to Not Like Us. And it's funny because I got a call from an editor friend of mine who I've worked with for close to a decade now. We've worked on a lot of stuff, and he goes, hey man, I've got this music video, do you have time? And I said, sure, what is it? And he said, oh, it's a new track from Eminem. And the 12-year-old Matt Yokum inside of me was like jumping up and down. I was like, that's like a bucket list item for me to get to work with Eminem. He's the GOAT. So so Houdini was the opposite of Not Like Us, where Not Like Us is like less is more, very minimal. It's just about the music. Everything about Slim Shady and his persona is like boisterous and over the top and crazy. So Houdini's music video is like, there's like chase scenes and it's like comic book action, like anime style, and it's crazy. And so they wanted effects through all of it, which tends to be a little unusual for music videos, because usually in music videos, it's like a little scene at the beginning that maybe needs something. Maybe there's a little break in the middle for like a story point that needs something, and then something at the end. So you kind of bookend it and then you're done. And then the rest of it's just about the song. But in this case, it was really like a story and action piece where they wanted sound design through the whole thing to feel cinematic. And so when I sent them like the pass for review that I had done on it, I purposefully left the effects like a little bit hotter in the mix than I normally would for a music video. And so just so that they could like hear what it was that I had done and so they could respond to it. And then I was going to go back and sort of do a pass after the fact to kind of bring it to a more traditional music video thing where like maybe things just poke through here and there. And then I got a note back and they said approved. And I was like, oh, okay.
Check.
So, it was like, it's cool. And there's tons of sound in that one. So
that's so cool, Matt. And can I ask you, are you creating these effects, or is it samples, or is it a combination? What is it?
Yeah, so it's a combination. So like part of like what we do as sound designers is if we had the budget and the schedule to create everything bespoke all the time, that would be awesome. But there are like schedules and budgets and things to contend with. So it's just not possible for me to like go record a Lamborghini every time I get a music video across my desk that has a Lamborghini in it. So if it's something hyper specific that maybe I don't have in a library, then that's something that I will try to go out and record if I can. But for the vast majority of our work, like we as sound designers tend to amass and purchase collections of commercially available libraries. That there are like people whose entire careers in sound are just recording effects, editing those, and putting them together in into a library that they can then sell to a person like me to then use in my work. And so when I purchase that library, I'm purchasing the license agreement to be able to use that in my professional craft. So I have something like 14 terabytes of sound effects on my sitting on my server. It's a lot of sounds. So I've got a pretty vast library of resources that I can draw from, but I also still love to record stuff when I can. I've got a whole assortment of microphones and recording devices and stuff. So I try to, a lot of times what we'll do, just to wrap up, I don't want to make it too long-winded, but a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take these layers, and it's not usually just like I take one sound effect and plop it in and I'm done. A lot of times it's grabbing components of pre-recorded material and then kind of like rearranging them and mashing them together and Frankensteining them into something new. And a lot of times it's taking maybe some element of a sound that's been previously recorded and then warping it and twisting it into something new through something like signal processing, whether that's adding on like, I don't know, frequency shifting or reverb or delay, or there's all these different tools in our arsenal that we can use to like warp something into something new from existing material. So
well, I want to get into one of the big projects you've been involved in here recently, and it's one of the best shows that I've seen in a long time. I teased it earlier. It's called Secret Level. It's on Amazon Prime, and it is just this amazing series of, anywhere between 8 and 20-minute episodes, all different, all based on different video games. And, the title's Secret Level, so you can sort of infer what you want from that. But what I found so great about it is the animation, for one. It's not consistent from one episode to the next. It's hyper realistic in one, but then you get sort of that Ninja Turtle, Spider-Man, Far From Home, that sort of comic booky animation in some. But the sound is just incredible. Even like the opening credits where it's like the bass drops that are drawing you in. I know I'm just sort of, geeking out right now, but I'm curious, how you got involved with that. And then, conceptually, what was it like trying to tie the sound from these, and did you have to like pull from the original video games to kind of get elements there, or just what was your process like in turning that into what it became?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I worked on this show for close to 6 months, and it was a beast, but it was so much fun. Like I had just like an amazing time. For anybody out there who's ever watched Love, Death, Robots, that's a very popular series on Netflix. This is made by the exact same studio. They're called Blur. They do some of the best, like they're known for doing like really, really high end, like world-class animation and visuals for like a lot of video game cinematics and different TV and like movies. They'll do like specific portions of VFX. Actually, the creator of the company, Tim Miller, is the one who directed the Deadpool first and last movie. In this case, they made the show for Amazon, Secret Level. It's available on Amazon Prime for anybody who wants to check it out. And like Nick said, it's an anthology, so every episode is unrelated. So you don't have to watch episode 1 to understand episode 8. Like they're all their own standalone stories. It was just such a fun creative challenge because, like you said, every episode has its own unique style, and so each one needed its totally new approach. Like normally when we work on a series or in a feature film, like if you have an hour and a half of content, you're pretty much, for the most part, building one consistent palette of sounds to overarch that show. And there may be some evolution in it as the show goes on, but like by and large, you're mostly working within the same vein and like train of thought. And each of these shows required a totally different, like you had to like reset every episode to like wipe the slate clean and try to come up with something brand new that was unique to each world. To answer your question, we did use some original game assets, like, but it varied in how often or how much we used them. Like there were some, it was kind of up to each IP holder. So what we would do is at the beginning of each episode, as we were getting started, I would have the studio reach out to the IP holder of that particular franchise and ask them like, hey, are there any assets or sounds that you guys really care about to like be true to the universe or whatever, and to put in these episodes. And some of them would send over like a 30 gigabyte library of like every weapon sound and whoosh and footstep that they had in the game. And like, you know, another IP like Pac-Man, for example, said, nah, just make it cool, just make it crazy. Yeah. And so we did. Pac-Man especially is crazy.
I did want to mention, and we have to do a giveaway right after this, but if you watch the series and you watch the Pac-Man episode, you will never think of that game the same way again. It will put dark thoughts in your head about what Pac-Man actually is. You know, you go to your pizza parlor or whatever and you see the big kiosk game and you play it and it's like this fun. You eat a pill, you choose some ghosts. It's a completely different warped take on what Pac-Man is all about. And I got that sense from a lot of these different episodes that sort of just give a new interpretation, maybe a little deeper, level of analysis to what the game was all about, versus what what you experienced in the actual gameplay. So our second giveaway, real quick, I know people are asking, is a PB1000 Pro subwoofer, and our winner of the PB1000 Pro is Joe Bagley. Congratulations, Joe Bagley.
Great,
Joe. Coming your way.
Can I ask Matt a question just real quick?
Please do.
Have you ever used the Wilhelm scream in one of your mixes?
It is a controversial topic within our amongst our peers. It is I think it is sort of a thing that most of us have agreed is like, it was a funny joke and then it like got used a lot, and so now it's a bit of a faux pas to use it unless you're like working at Skywalker and you're working on a Star Wars thing, or like there's some like IP that it's like got a foothold in already. So we tend to avoid it most of the time.
Yeah, hearing it at the Star Wars land 2 weeks ago when I was out there at Disney just kind of made me.
Can we get some context? What is the Wilhelm? I'm seeing some questions. Give me the 30-second. What is it?
Yeah, the Wilhelm scream is this classic scream that you've heard it. If anybody's asking, just Google Wilhelm scream and you'll hear it and you'll go, oh, that's the Wilhelm scream. It's that like classic like sound effect that it showed up in the library. It was actually recorded. I'm gonna mess it up on a movie. It was in the 1950s, and I'm not remembering.
I want to say it was a Western, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not remembering the name of the movie right now. Something River, I want to say. But the original title of the sound effect is "Man Gets Eaten by Alligator." And it was like, it's a scene where a guy is like at the edge of a river, and an alligator jumps out and chomps him, and that's the Wilhelm scream. Like this actor did like a string of takes, and like in that file there's like 6 or 7 screams, but the first one is the iconic Wilhelm scream. And so that ended up making it into libraries that got distributed, and it's been used a lot in different places. And if you look up on YouTube like examples of Wilhelm scream, there will be like a compilation of like 20 movies where you hear the same sound effect used over and over again.
I was just wearing a t-shirt that had it on it yesterday, and it kind of made me think.
The searches are going to go through the roof for Wilhelm scream over the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's going to be trending.
So I did want to ask, I saw some comments. You're an SB 4000 sealed cabinet subwoofer owner, and you had some interesting thoughts to share about your room as well. So 2-part question: why the SB 4000? And you have an imperfect room, but you have to create amazing sound within that room that translates elsewhere. Tell us about sort of the process to get there, both using the subwoofer and just in general with treating your room.
Yeah, totally. So first of all, like I love my SB 4000. I mean, this thing is awesome. Like if I'm cranking it in my room, like, and it hits just the right resonance in here, like sometimes I feel like I could like lift my feet up and I would just sort of levitate like in place, which is a cool feeling. But I mean, it can move some air, that's for sure. But yeah, like you said, like every room is different and it's going to have its challenges, and there's like certain things that you just kind of can't get around physics wise in sound. One of those being like the size of your subwoofer matters. So like, you know, even though I'm in a very small space, like I wanted a driver that could physically move the air and create the frequencies that I wanted to be able to represent like what I'm going to hear when I go to a much larger space, like when we have to finish on a dub stage. For those of you who don't know, a dub stage it's basically like if you go to your local movie theater, like if you just removed all the seats and put a big mixing console right in the middle, like that's a dub stage. We finish our projects in movie theater sized rooms. Because that's, especially if we're working on a theatrical project like a movie that's going to show in theaters, then we're mastering it for the space that it's going to end up living in, how people are going to hear it. And so one of the biggest things that we strive for, that most people like sound engineers and sound designers and mixers work for, is when you're working in a home space like this, I want to hear as close as possible a representation of what it's going to sound like when it goes there. Like I think for those who are listening who are more familiar with music, like in music mixing, like a lot of engineers will do what they call like the car test, where they'll like mix a song and then they go hear it in their car, because their car is where they spend the majority of their time listening to music or whatever, and so they want to see if it translates. For me, that's going from my room to a theater. I need for my room to translate there. So my room is literally 10 by 10, so it is a perfect cube. It's, I think, 9-foot ceilings, maybe. So it's like physically, dimensionally, acoustically, the worst possible size that you can have for a room. It's like the way the math works out, it's terrible. But I've got a lot of bass traps, like all of these black panels that you see behind me with all the tchotchkes on top. Like these are 6-inch thick pieces of foam. These are made by a company called GIK Acoustics in Atlanta. They hand make these. So I've got 6 of these behind me. I've got 2 of them in front of me. I've got 2 of them above me. And then in my corners, I have floor to ceiling corner bass traps. So like I've got tons of acoustic insulation around me to try to absorb some of that energy and to reduce the nulls and peaks in my room. And it all has to do with like, it gets really nerdy really fast, but it all has to do with the physical length and dimension of the actual waves that are moving through your space. So I try to control that, and then I have room tuning and time alignment and all that on top of it. And then there's just the outright performance of the speakers that I'm using, and the SVS sub is a huge part of that, and it freaking rocks in here, man. Like I love it.
Well, and I know you were mentioning too, getting the sound to translate from your room to a large theater. You have it so well dialed in, it's almost like a 1-to-1 transplant, which I'm sure took a lot of work to get there.
It took a lot of manual work to get it there, but I was like thrilled when I was working on Secret Level. Like I would be pre-mixing. I was the supervisor on the show, and there were 2 other mixers on the show who mixed it, but I was sort of pre-mixing and getting it dialed in so that when it hit the stage, we had a very truncated, like small schedule on this show. It was all very tight. So I tried to like alleviate as much of the technical work for them as possible so they could spend more time being creative and less time like finicking with little stuff. So I would try to dial it in as much as possible here at home. I would go to the stage and I would show up and listen to it, and I was like thrilled. It like sounded exactly the same there than it did here. And I have to actually say, and I swear I'm not just saying this, like a lot of times like the bass in my room is better than the bass on some of those big stages. Like
that's okay. I think a lot of people in the comments would probably agree with you when they go to commercial theaters that they've got their rooms dialed in and the sound a lot better than what they're experiencing in any sort of public venue. So there's no shame in saying that at all. Matt, it's been awesome having you on the broadcast. I think you might end up being our first 4-time guest. I know you have.
If you're willing.
if you're willing, and I do want to give you a quick opportunity if there's anything you want to tease as far as upcoming projects that we should look out for. I always love stalking your IMDb because I see new things pop up. But anything on the horizon that we should be aware of?
Oh man, let's see. There's one project that's announced already that I'm just a part of as a sound effects editor. So I'm not supervising this show, but I'm working as one of the team members on an upcoming Predator movie. So because of the success of Prey, like one of my really good friends did he was the supervisor and mixed on Prey, and that turned out amazing. And so because of that success, Dan Trachtenberg's getting to do a lot more in the Predator universe. So there's more coming for that. And then there's some other projects coming down the road that I can't say anything about yet, but I'm extremely excited for what's to come this year. So
will there be a second season of Secret Level? And can you do Bubble Bobble? Because that was my favorite game growing up.
I have a long list of requests for Secret Level episodes myself, and I'm always told we'll add it to the list.
Okay.
So,
well,
but yes,
patronize me then.
Amazon has confirmed and has announced there will be season 2 of Secret Level. I'm extremely excited for that to come down the pipe. That'll probably be like a 2026 thing. But very excited for that, and the reaction and the response to Secret Level has been really thrilling. Amazon announced it was the largest premiere of an animated series on their platform ever. So that was pretty cool.
Well, the sound is incredible. The animation's incredible. So congrats to you for that. And we'll be.
Can I ask you one quick question before the stream is over?
Absolutely.
We owe you at least that.
I want to ask a question. So I really want to hear these SVS Ultra Evolution Pinnacle. So congrats to you guys on all the awards and the recognitions on those. They look so cool. I mean, they're just like this awesome geometric. They've almost got like a brutalist vibe to them. They're just very cool. They're very cool to look at. I'm very curious, given that you guys obviously do a lot in the music space, but you also do a lot in the cinema space. Will you guys ever design a speaker with horn-loaded drivers as opposed to soft dome tweeters?
So the tweeters are actually on this new speaker we've never done a soft dome tweeter. They're aluminum dome with diamond dust applied with vapor deposition. So we call it a diamond coated tweeter. And it's a really remarkable tweeter because it has some of the gentleness of a soft dome, but with all the detail and clarity of a metal dome. And the breakup frequency is way crazy beyond audibility, almost 40,000 hertz. So I think you as a sound person who appreciates the technical aspects of sound, you'll appreciate it. So the typical reason to do a horn would be twofold. Number one is efficiency. The other is the benefits of horn loading or waveguide. What we did was kind of married up those benefits by using a really cool organic lattice diffuser, sort of a randomized diffuser. You take a look at the site, or hopefully we'll get you a set of them to play with. I feel like you get all the benefits of that with none of what we think of as downside. Others may not. I think horn tweeters can sound brassy. They might be less likely to image well, and we want to SVS customers to have their cake and eat it too. We want that beautiful sound stage without sacrificing detail, and we want really good dispersion characteristics because SVS customers are not loners. They have friends and they have their friends over, so we want to make sure most parts of the room the sound is great. So does that help? Does that answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for clarifying that. They're beautiful speakers. I can't wait to hear them at some point. So
we got to get them in front of Matt, Nick.
Absolutely. We'll talk off the show, and we'll see what we can do to get you a listen to the new Ultra Evolution series. But thanks again, Matt. Always a pleasure talking shop with you. And we look.
Matt, you keep topping yourself. Today was really great. I forgot to talk. I just wanted to listen to you. It was really good. Learned a lot.
I always encourage you guys to like cut me off when I'm rambling. Just I can go for hours. I can talk to a wall, as my mom says. So
the next time we have Matt on, it will be a 4-hour-long SVS Audiophile Happy Hour.
Happy to do it.
Is that your dog in the background, Matt? I think he wants to get some air. Is that yours?
Gary's.
I'm gonna say he wants some airtime too, and also say hi to your dad. Matt's dad always comes to visit us at Audio Advice Live in North Carolina. So say what's up. I think I saw him leave a comment too. So
he did. He loves talking to you guys and loves seeing you guys. So hopefully I'll get to see you guys in person at some point soon too.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
So we don't have time for the normal lightning round, but I did want to say
I want to make a promise that the next one we do is all lightning round, where we take listeners' questions and give our best answers. What do you think, Nick?
I completely agree. I think it's been a long time, and I think those sometimes offer the best information as far as getting people's systems sounding their best. I love having special guests because I think it's insight that we wouldn't normally
really
get
good. I mean, he's
from
really
just us. But I think we owe it to the SVSers out there to do a straight up hour-long Q&A. But I will say there's a couple event questions. I saw people asking about Expona. We will absolutely be at Expona with both 2-channel and home theater. And then the home entertainment show, somebody else had asked about that. We're going to be there as well. It's in June. And we had a visit from the organizers of the home entertainment show who are trying to put together something big to coincide with the hi-fi portion of that show. I have no details to share at this point, but SVS may be involved with it. So I don't want to hype it too much, but we're super excited to be out in the Costa Mesa area as well for the home entertainment show.
And the Tampa show. I think you did talk about the Tampa show.
I did mention, yep. In a couple of weeks, we'll be at the Florida Audio Expo just outside Tampa in Brandon, Florida. So we encourage people to take a trip down there and come visit with Larry, Gary, and I. And then we don't have a date for our next happy hour, but I think now that we know what we're going to do, Gary, we'll offline figure out when we can make it work, and let's get something on the calendar for sure.
All lightning round, all questions and answers from our amazing SVS community.
And we have them saved here.
And I will lock my dog up somewhere, I think, for the next.
We've been saving a bunch of the questions in our comments, and Eli, who works behind the scenes, has built a backlog. So we will have those to start with, and then you can bring your questions ahead of time, and maybe we'll even build a playlist or something along with it as well. But thank you to everybody for tuning in. We love it, Ed. Your contributions today were absolutely priceless.
Yeah, my voice is getting hoarse here from the anti-lightning round. So
we appreciate your presence. It's always a welcome sight to have you on camera. Larry, it was fun hanging out with you last week, and I look forward to seeing you out in Florida. To everyone else, thank you for all the comments. Thanks to Matt. Gary, did you have a closing thought there?
My wife texted me to put the dog out, and I'm like, oh, that was smart. Why didn't I do that before?
My wife's texting me for the HBO Max password, so I guess they don't respect the boundaries of when you're doing a live stream. But that's all right. We have to live our lives while we're live streaming. But again, thank you.
This was a great show. This was a show where I enjoyed almost being an audience member more than
same.
Sharing, I almost forgot the final giveaway. I've done this before. I almost stumbled my way to ending it without the final giveaway, which happens to be our award-winning SB2000 Pro subwoofer. And the winner of the new subwoofer is Vernon Hoots. Vernon Hoots.
Congratulations.
Got a new sub coming your way. Everyone, thank you so much. Happy listening, and we look forward to catching up with you next time.
Bye, everybody.